For thousands of years, the Bible has been revered as a sacred text, a cornerstone of human understanding about God, creation, and morality. Its stories have shaped civilizations, inspired faith, and guided countless generations. But what if the Bible is hiding something far more profound than we've been led to believe? What if its most misunderstood word, Elohim, is the key to unlocking an entirely different narrative about humanity's origins? Let me be clear, this isn't just a linguistic curiosity. What if this mysterious word, Elohim, holds the key to unlocking the truth about a plurality of powerful beings rather than a single creator? This means the Bible, in its original language, is speaking not about one God, but about a collective, a group of powerful beings. By studying Elohim closely, we uncover undeniable evidence that challenges everything we thought we knew. This is the clue that reveals the Bible isn't telling us about a singular divine creator, but about gods in the plural. Could these Elohim, often obscured by theological interpretations, be the same powerful beings described in other ancient cultures? Why hasn't this been made clear to us before? For me, the answer is simple. Theologians and religious institutions have obscured this truth for centuries. But if we strip away the layers of theological interpretation and examine the Bible's original texts, the truth reveals itself right before our eyes. This is not speculation. It's a revelation waiting to be uncovered. Are you ready to uncover the truth about Elohim, the gods of the Bible? The mystery of the word Elohim begins with a question that has puzzled theologians and seekers of truth for centuries. Why is it plural? In the Hebrew Bible, Elohim is a grammatically plural word, yet it is often paired with singular verbs and traditionally translated as God, implying a singular, omnipotent being. But does this conventional understanding fully capture the complexity and depth of the term? Or is there something far more profound hidden within the linguistic and cultural layers of the Bible? Jewish tradition explains Elohim as a majestic plural, or pluralis majestatis, a linguistic tool used to express grandeur, power, or supremacy, especially in reference to a singular entity. For instance, in Genesis 1:1, the Bible begins with, "In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth." Here, the verb bara, created, is singular, suggesting that Elohim refers to one being, the God of Israel, despite the plural form of the noun. This has often been interpreted as emphasizing the infinite greatness and authority of the divine. But then we encounter verses like Genesis 1:26, where the text shifts dramatically. "And Elohim said, 'Let us make man in our image, after our likeness.'" The plural pronouns, us and our, stand out, raising a significant question. If Elohim refers to a singular God, then why does the text suggest a conversation among multiple beings? Some argue this could reflect a heavenly court or divine council, a concept not uncommon in the mythologies of the ancient Near East. Others propose it signifies divine deliberation or self-reflection. However, such interpretations fail to address the plural nature of the word itself. The mystery deepens with passages like Genesis 20:13, where Abraham tells the Philistine king Abimelech, "When the Elohim caused me to wander from my father's house." Here, the verb hitu, caused me to wander, is plural, suggesting the involvement of multiple beings. Yet most modern translations render this as, "God caused me to wander," erasing the plural form to fit monotheistic theology. Similarly, in Genesis 35:7, Jacob builds an altar to Elohim and declares, "There Elohim revealed themselves to me." The verb niglu, revealed, is plural in the original Hebrew, again pointing to a collective of entities. These are not isolated instances. Throughout the Hebrew Bible, plural verbs associated with Elohim challenge the notion of a singular deity. Adding another layer of complexity is the nature of the Hebrew language itself. Ancient Hebrew, like other Semitic languages, was written without vowels. This means that the exact pronunciation, and sometimes the meaning of words like Elohim, is open to interpretation. It wasn't until centuries later, between the 6th and 9th centuries CE, that a system of vowels was introduced, creating what we now call Masoretic Hebrew. This standardization shaped modern interpretations, but also created uncertainties. Could the word we now read as Elohim have originally been pronounced differently, with a different meaning entirely? Without the original vocalization, we cannot be sure. Even Jewish tradition acknowledges the ambiguity of Elohim. Some sources argue that Elohim refers not to a singular god, but to a category of beings, including judges, rulers, or spirits. For instance, in 1 Samuel 28:13, the witch of Endor tells King Saul, "I see Elohim ascending out of the earth," referring to the spirit of the prophet Samuel. Here, Elohim is accompanied by a plural verb, olim, ascending, yet it describes a single entity. This elasticity of Elohim, used to describe spirits, judges, angels, and even pagan gods like Dagon, Judges 16:23, raises the question, what is the true meaning of this word? Could it reflect a forgotten understanding of divine or powerful entities? The word Elohim appears over 2,600 times in the Hebrew Bible, and its plural form is not a grammatical accident. It is a clue, a key to understanding a worldview where multiple powerful beings influenced human history. Ancient Mesopotamian narratives about the Anunnaki mirror this concept. These gods descended from the heavens, shaped civilizations, and governed humanity, much like the Elohim. Could the Elohim and the Anunnaki be different cultural interpretations of the same beings? This means that the text we read today is not a direct window into the past, but a carefully curated document, reflecting the theological and cultural priorities of its compilers. Faced with these uncertainties, what can we conclude? It's quite obvious that the word Elohim is a mystery, and there is no clear and ready answer about its true meaning. So why should we trust the theological explanations from one side or another? Is Elohim the Trinity? Is it the majestic plural? To me, all of it seems like a grand plot designed to obscure the real truth. And the real truth is, no one knows the exact meaning of the word Elohim. In that case, the correct approach is to preserve the mystery. If humanity had done this, we might have reached the point much earlier where we uncovered that what hides behind the name Elohim are the Anunnaki. Because it was only in the 19th century, with the discovery of ancient Mesopotamian texts, that we began to connect the dots. Moving beyond the linguistic puzzle of the word Elohim, we now focus on their roles and actions as described in the Hebrew Bible. This is where the mystery deepens. Elohim are not merely abstract figures or poetic flourishes in the text. They are active participants in shaping humanity's earliest civilizations. From dividing nations to governing laws, from presiding over councils to influencing the rise and fall of leaders, the Elohim appear not as distant gods, but as rulers, legislators, and judges with tangible influence over human history. The role of the Elohim as rulers is perhaps most vividly described in Deuteronomy 32:8. When Elyon divided the nations, he assigned lands according to the number of the sons of Elohim. Yahweh's portion was his people Jacob. This passage paints a picture of an organized division of humanity where Elyon, often translated as the Most High, apportions territories among the sons of Elohim. Each Elohim seems to have been assigned a specific group of people or a region to govern. Yahweh, notably, is given the people of Israel as his portion, indicating that he was one among many entities overseeing different human groups. This structured division raises profound questions. Was this a form of divine administration meant to ensure order among early human civilizations? Or could it reflect something far more grounded, an ancient system where power was distributed among advanced beings with vested interests in humanity's development and control? The Bible portrays the Elohim as a council, similar to pantheons in other cultures like the Greek Olympians or the Sumerian Anunnaki. These assemblies made decisions about humanity's fate, including creation, governance, and destruction. Unlike the modern theological interpretation of an all-knowing, all-powerful God, these Elohim seem bound by responsibilities and consequences, much like advanced yet limited beings. Their mortality and moral failings bring them closer to the realm of tangible, sentient rulers, rather than distant, spiritual deities. One of the most dramatic illustrations of this competitive dynamic is found in 1 Kings 18, in the story of the prophets of Baal defeated. Here, Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, and Baal, the Elohim of the Canaanites, are set in direct competition to determine which god, or Elohim, is the most powerful. The stage is set on Mount Carmel, where the prophet Elijah challenges King Ahab and the prophets of Baal to a divine showdown. Elijah, representing Yahweh, declares, "How long will you waver between two opinions? If Yahweh is Elohim, follow him. But if Baal is Elohim, follow him." This statement underscores the pluralistic worldview of the time. In Canaanite texts, El, the singular form of Elohim, appears as a chief god among many, reinforcing that the term originally described a plurality of beings. Elijah doesn't deny the existence of Baal. Rather, he acknowledges Baal as an Elohim and challenges his power. The question is not whether Baal exists, but whether he is more powerful than Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel. In a dramatic test, the prophets of Baal cry out to their god, but there is no response. They dance, shout, and even slash themselves with swords to provoke Baal, but their cries go unanswered. In contrast, Elijah prepares Yahweh's altar, drenches it with water, and prays. Fire from Yahweh descends and consumes everything, offering wood, stones, and even water. The people witnessing this proclaim, "Yahweh, he is Elohim! Yahweh, he is Elohim!" This story is not just theological but political as well. It establishes Yahweh's supremacy over Baal in the eyes of the Israelites, solidifying his role as their patron Elohim. Yet, it also reflects the competitive nature of the Elohim, a world where power is demonstrated through direct action and measurable results. Yahweh's role as one of the Elohim is particularly significant. Yahweh's role in the Hebrew Bible reflects a local deity elevated to supreme status within Israelite tradition. This elevation could explain the biblical author's efforts to prioritize Yahweh over rival Elohim, such as Baal or Asherah. Far from being the singular, omnipotent deity of later theological interpretations, Yahweh is presented in the Hebrew Bible as a regional ruler, a being chosen by the Israelites as their patron Elohim. This idea is reflected in the Ten Commandments, which reinforce Yahweh's supremacy. "You shall have no other Elohim before me." Rather than denying the existence of other Elohim, this commandment assumes their reality, but prioritizes Yahweh for the Israelites. Yahweh's relationship with Israel is contextual and covenantal, rooted in agreements where he promises to protect and guide Israel in exchange for their exclusive loyalty and worship. This relationship is unique to Israel and their nation, reflecting Yahweh's role not as a universal God for all people, but as the patron Elohim of a specific group. It's quite obvious, then, that Yahweh is one of the Elohim, a member of this plurality of powerful beings. The very term Elohim is plural, emphasizing that Yahweh belongs to this collective group of divine or advanced entities. This is a recurring theme, one that I've explored in many of my previous videos, and one that we'll continue to unpack in future videos. The competition between Yahweh and Baal, as seen on Mount Carmel, is a direct manifestation of this worldview, a world where Elohim are numerous, powerful, and constantly vying for influence and worship. The divine showdown on Mount Carmel wasn't just a test of power. It was a dramatic display meant to cement Yahweh's dominance in the eyes of the Israelites. This act of public demonstration echoes the competitive nature of ancient gods vying for loyalty and influence. This ancient world filled with different Elohim were the biblical times. In those days, there were distinct Elohim, interpreted as gods, interacting with various peoples and attempting to establish their own nations. I've always been fascinated by these topics, which is why I created a channel dedicated to exploring biblical stories. In fact, I've created a comprehensive, more than 3-hour-long video retelling the entire story of the Bible. It's a deep dive into the traditional biblical narrative, but even within that framework, the plurality of gods becomes clear, especially in the way Yahweh repeatedly asserts his oneness and power over other deities. If you're interested, you can access this video in the final screen of this video. For me, this is a crucial point to understand. These Elohim, or as we might call them, the Anunnaki, were here among us. They were the governors of our ancient times, and they were flesh and blood beings. Were the Elohim extraterrestrial beings? Let me say this plainly. I believe the Elohim were extraterrestrial beings, advanced entities whose presence on Earth shaped the course of human history. And I'm not alone in this conclusion. When we dig deeper into the biblical texts and compare them with other ancient records, the evidence becomes strikingly clear. The Elohim described in the Bible align almost perfectly with the Anunnaki from Mesopotamian lore. Both groups of beings who descended from the heavens wielded immense power and governed humanity. But if the Elohim were extraterrestrial in origin, what were they doing here? And why do their actions echo across so many ancient cultures? Let's explore this theory and uncover the connections between these powerful beings, their advanced technology, and their motives for interacting with humanity. The Bible is filled with accounts that, when read through a modern lens, sound less like divine miracles and more like descriptions of advanced technology. For example, the pillar of fire and cloud that guided the Israelites through the desert could very well have been a vehicle, an advanced machine emitting light and smoke to signal their path. Likewise, the chariot of fire that carried the prophet Elijah into the heavens is reminiscent of modern depictions of spacecraft. Ancient people, with no frame of reference for advanced machines, would have described these objects using the limited vocabulary they had, attributing them to the divine. Even today, reports of unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, often describe flying objects that seem to defy the laws of physics. Could these modern sightings be echoes of the same advanced beings who were once worshipped as gods? Perhaps the most mysterious of all is the Ark of the Covenant, a sacred object said to house immense power, even deadly to those who mishandled it. The Bible recounts that 70 men died simply by gazing into it. Could this have been a highly advanced technological device, dangerous due to radiation or another unknown energy source? These descriptions challenge the traditional interpretation of miracles and instead suggest the Elohim were wielding technology so advanced it appeared as magic to those witnessing it. The idea of ancient advanced technology is not unique to the Bible. The Hindu Vedas provide vivid descriptions of Vimanas, the celestial vehicles of the gods. These flying machines were said to ascend to the heavens, capable of speeds and maneuvers that defy even modern technology. Could these Vimanas and the chariots of fire mentioned in the Bible be two cultural interpretations of the same phenomenon? Extraterrestrial craft employed by advanced beings? If the Elohim were indeed extraterrestrial visitors, their motives for coming to Earth may become clearer when we examine parallels between the Bible and Mesopotamian mythology. The Anunnaki, described in Sumerian, Akkadian, and Babylonian texts, were said to have come from the heavens to Earth. According to the Enuma Elish, humanity was created at the behest of these beings as a labor force, particularly to mine Earth's resources. This aligns eerily with the biblical creation story in Genesis, where the Elohim say, "Let us make man in our image." Both accounts suggest that humanity was the product of deliberate design, not divine whim, but a calculated decision by advanced beings who required workers. This notion of creation is further supported by the Atrahasis epic, where the Anunnaki gather in council to discuss the creation of humans as a solution to their labor shortage. The texts describe how Enki, one of the leading Anunnaki, played a crucial role in the genetic engineering of humanity. Such ancient accounts not only parallel the biblical narrative, but also underscore the idea that these beings worked collectively as part of a council to determine humanity's fate. The concept of a divine council appears in the Bible as well. The Bible repeatedly references councils of divine beings, mirroring similar gatherings found in Mesopotamian and other mythologies. This mirrors the Mesopotamian accounts, where the Anunnaki frequently convene to make decisions. For instance, in the Epic of Gilgamesh, the gods assemble to decide the fate of humanity during the flood. Similarly, in the Atrahasis epic, it is the council of gods that decrees the destruction of humanity via a flood, only for Enki to defy them and preserve life by instructing Ziusudra, known as Atrahasis or Utnapishtim in other texts, to build an ark. The Genesis flood story parallels Mesopotamian accounts, where councils of gods, including the Anunnaki, determined humanity's fate. Yahweh's decision to preserve Noah mirrors Enki's actions in the Atrahasis epic, showing shared traditions of divine intervention. Another compelling example of the Elohim's collective decision-making is found in the Tower of Babel narrative in Genesis 11. Humanity, united by one language, seeks to build a tower reaching the heavens. The Elohim, alarmed by this display of human ambition, intervene. Behold, the people are one, and they all have one language, and this is only the beginning of what they will do. Now nothing they plan to do will be impossible for them. Let us go down and confuse their language so they may not understand one another's speech. This story, which portrays the Elohim as fearing humanity's progress, has an earlier precedent in the Mesopotamian tablet En-Merkar and the Lord of Arata. Written centuries before the Bible, this text also describes a time when humanity spoke one language and how the gods decided to confuse their speech to hinder their unity. The similarities between these two stories are undeniable, further connecting the Elohim of the Bible to the Anunnaki of Mesopotamian mythology. In scattering humanity and confusing their language, the Elohim ensured that no single group could unify and challenge their authority. The story seems less like a myth of divine punishment and more like a strategic move by advanced overseers to maintain control over a fragmented species. The question remains, why would advanced beings seek to divide humanity? Was it to maintain control, ensuring that we remained manageable and unable to challenge their authority? This interpretation aligns with the idea that the Elohim, like the Anunnaki, were not benevolent caretakers, but overseers with their own agendas. The Bible's portrayal of Yahweh as the central Elohim for the Israelites reflects this dynamic. Yahweh is frequently depicted as asserting his supremacy over rival Elohim, as seen in 1 Kings 18, where the prophet Elijah challenges the prophets of Baal to a contest to determine whose god is more powerful. This rivalry mirrors the competitive nature of the Anunnaki, who, according to Mesopotamian texts, vied for influence and control over humanity. The idea of gods, or advanced beings, competing for dominance is also prominent in other ancient cultures. The Olympians of Greek mythology frequently clashed over their domains and interactions with humanity. Similarly, the Babylonian gods convened councils to settle disputes, as seen in the Enuma Elish and other epics. These recurring motifs suggest that ancient cultures were describing a world where powerful beings, whether called Elohim, Anunnaki, or Olympians, were actively shaping human history, often in competition with one another. Taken together, these accounts suggest a radical reinterpretation of the Elohim. They were not abstract deities or metaphysical concepts. They were advanced beings, physically present on Earth, wielding technology so advanced it was indistinguishable from magic to those who witnessed it. I believe the Elohim were extraterrestrial visitors, remembered across cultures under different names. They were the Anunnaki of Mesopotamia, the architects of civilization, and the beings who shaped humanity for purposes we are only beginning to understand. But this raises deeper questions. If the Elohim were extraterrestrial beings, what was their ultimate agenda? Were they benevolent caretakers, guiding humanity toward progress? Or were they selfish overseers driven by their own needs and desires? And perhaps the most unsettling question of all, are they still watching us? Now that we've explored the possible identity and actions of the Elohim, let's reflect on what this means for humanity. Rereading the Bible with the term Elohim left intact is like wiping centuries of dust off an ancient painting, revealing vibrant colors and details that were long obscured. It forces us to confront an astonishing possibility. The Bible does not tell the story of a singular divine being, but rather a plurality of powerful entities, beings who governed humanity, created civilizations, and directly influenced the trajectory of human history. This perspective reshapes everything. If the Elohim were advanced beings, extraterrestrial in origin, their actions raise profound and unsettling questions. Were we created with intention, for a specific purpose? Were the stories of Genesis a record of genetic engineering, where humanity was shaped in their image, as servants, workers, or even as an experiment? And if so, were the Elohim guiding us with benevolent motives, or were they simply using us for their own ends? Was the division of humanity, the scattering at Babel, and the enforcement of loyalty to specific Elohim their way of maintaining control? Could our religions, governments, and social structures be echoes of systems set in place by these ancient overseers? This interpretation challenges the traditional theological narrative. For centuries, humans have looked to the Bible as the ultimate story of divine connection, a narrative of faith, creation, and morality. But viewing the Elohim as advanced beings, perhaps extraterrestrials with unimaginable knowledge and power, forces us to reinterpret this foundational text. Rather than an account of divine omnipotence, it becomes the story of a relationship between humanity and a group of superior entities. It reframes our origins as the result of intervention by advanced beings rather than the work of a single creator. And if this is true, what does it mean for humanity's understanding of God, the universe, and our place within it? This is not a dismissal of spirituality, but an invitation to expand it. The possibility that we are part of a much larger cosmic story, one involving beings far beyond our understanding, does not diminish our significance. Instead, it situates us within a vast, interconnected universe filled with mystery and potential. The biblical narrative of the Elohim finds striking parallels in the mythology of the Anunnaki. To truly understand the Elohim, we must examine their hierarchical structure, which is vividly detailed in Mesopotamian texts. In these accounts, the Anunnaki are not a monolithic group, but a council of gods, each with distinct roles, responsibilities, and realms of influence. At the pinnacle of this hierarchy is Anu, whose very name means heaven, and who represents the ultimate source of authority. Anu, often described as the progenitor of the Anunnaki, resides in the highest heavens, delegating power to his children to govern the cosmos. Beneath Anu are his sons, Enlil and Enki, two figures who embody different aspects of divine rule. Enlil, whose name means Lord of the Air, serves as the enforcer of order and executive authority among the gods. He is often depicted as stern and judgmental, making decisions that affect the fate of humanity. Enki, on the other hand, is the god of wisdom, knowledge, and creation. Known for his compassion, Enki is frequently portrayed as humanity's benefactor, defying the council's harsher decrees to preserve and protect human life. In the Atrahasis epic, for instance, it is Enki who warns the human Atrahasis about the impending flood, instructing him to build an ark to save himself and the seed of humanity. The hierarchical structure of the Anunnaki mirrors the council-like dynamics described in the Bible. Psalm 82, for example, provides a rare glimpse of the Elohim as a council. God stands in the assembly of the Elohim. He judges among the gods. The story of the Tower of Babel in Genesis 11 further illustrates this collective dynamic. These narratives suggest that the biblical and Mesopotamian accounts share a common origin, further connecting the Elohim to the Anunnaki. Yahweh, as portrayed in the Bible, fits within this hierarchy as a regional Elohim. Deuteronomy 32:8 describes how the Most High, Elyon, divided the nations among the sons of Elohim, assigning Yahweh his portion, the people of Israel. This reflects a system where individual gods or Elohim were assigned specific territories and peoples to govern. Yahweh's declaration in the Ten Commandments, "You shall have no other Elohim before me," is not a denial of other gods, but a demand for exclusive loyalty from his people. But how does this hierarchical system reconcile with the Elohim's portrayal as creators of the universe? The Bible credits them with creating the heavens and the earth, while the Enuma Elish describes the Anunnaki as architects of the cosmos. For me, this raises a profound mystery. If the Elohim were flesh and blood beings, as these accounts suggest, how could they also create something as vast and cosmic as the universe? From nothing, nothing comes. Everything must have a beginning. Modern cosmological theories, like the Big Bang and the multiverse, hint at the possibility that even the universe itself may have an origin rooted in intelligence. The Big Bang describes a singularity, a moment when all matter, energy, and time came into existence. But what caused this singularity? Could it have been set into motion by an advanced intelligence, perhaps even beings akin to the Elohim? Similarly, the multiverse theory suggests that countless universes exist, each with its own physical laws. Could the Elohim have emerged from one of these universes, bringing their knowledge and technology to ours? In Mesopotamian mythology, the Anunnaki's hierarchy offers a clue. Anu, their father and supreme being, is described as embodying heaven itself. His essence permeates the cosmos and all Anunnaki beings. Could Anu, or the principle he represents, be a bridge between the physical and the cosmic, between the finite and the infinite? Could his essence, said to pervade every Anunnaki and every substance in the universe, point to a larger cosmic origin? This is the enigma at the heart of all creation. If even the creators were created, where does the chain of existence truly begin? For me, this question of origins is not just academic, it's deeply personal. The Elohim, the Anunnaki, the sky people, those from heaven to earth came, whatever we choose to call them, were beings of immense power and knowledge. But they too must have come from somewhere. Their story, like ours, is part of a much larger narrative, one that began long before humanity and extends far beyond our comprehension. What do you think? Were the Elohim gods, extraterrestrials, or something else entirely? And who, or what, created them? These are the questions that drive my search for answers. Join me as we continue exploring the mysteries of humanity's ancient past. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep unraveling the truth together. See you in the next video.